Namo Amidabu. Poems in honor of Amida Dharma by Gansen John Welch. Introduction. I wrote these 4 new poems to thank and honor my teachers, Josho, Adrian, Cirlea, and Paul Roberts, as well as our Amida Dharma Masters, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Tan-Luan, Tao-ch'o, Shandao, Genshin, Honen, and Shinran, without whom I could not have found and understood, in my case to some small extent, Amida Dharma and my utter helplessness trapped in the endless suffering of samsara. Never forget these wise words from TANNISHO by Yuienbo. Quote, as I humbly reflect on the past when the late Master Shinran was alive, and the present in my foolish mind, I cannot but lament the divergences from the true shinjin that he conveyed by speaking to us directly, and I fear there are doubts and confusions in the way followers receive and transmit the teaching. For how is entrance into the single gate of easy practice possible, unless we happily come to rely on a true teacher whom conditions bring us to encounter? Let there be not the slightest distortion of the teaching of other power, with words of an understanding based on personal views. End quote. I hope these verses help others and motivate them to find a good teacher like Josho, Adrian, Cirlea, listen deeply to Amida Dharma, and say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Verses in honor of Yuienbo, disciple of Shinran and author of TANNISHO, by Gansen John Welch. Unenlightened human beings in samsara exist, in a realm of suffering that will persist until we become Buddhas, but it is futile to pretend and ignore the reality of our dangerous circumstance, living our lives stumbling blindly without end through a minefield of karmic hand grenades that could explode at any moment, when conditions, falsely called chance, cause the ripening of past thoughts, words, and deeds, resulting in endless frustration and unfulfilled needs. A wasted and futile life is spent, ignoring the karmic seeds, leading to heaven or Hades, we sowed during the infinite past. When we at last admit our total helplessness in samsara's prison, then, and only then, can we say with heartfelt sincerity, Nambutsu, and be free of our crushing burden of evil karma and attain nirvana through the inconceivable working of Amida's vow. So in great humility and gratitude, we should now say Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. This poem was inspired by the following passages of TANNISHO by Yuienbo. Quote, on the assertion, people who are unafraid of committing evil because of the inconceivable working of the primal vow are in fact impudently presuming upon the vow, and therefore will not attain birth. This is a statement of one who doubts the primal vow and fails to understand the influence of good and evil karma of past lives. Good thoughts arise in us through the prompting of good karma from the past, and evil comes to be thought and performed through the working of evil karma. The late Master said, knowing that every evil act done, even as slight as a particle on the tip of a strand of rabbit's fur or sheep's wool, has its cause in past karma. He, that is Shinran Shonen, continued, by this you should realize that if we could always act as we wished, then when I told you to kill 1,000 people in order to attain birth, you should have immediately done so. But since you lack the karmic cause inducing you to kill even a single person, you do not kill. It is not that you do not kill because your heart is good. In the same way, a person may not wish to harm anyone and yet end up killing 100 or 1,000 people. Thus he spoke of how we believe that if our hearts are good, then it is good for birth, and if our hearts are evil, it is bad for birth, failing to realize that it is by the inconceivable working of the vow that we are saved. Namo Amida Bu. Namo Amida Bu. Verses in honor of Amida's primal vow by Gansen John Welch. We all need to realize without delay that here and now, only on board the ship of Amida's primal vow can we cross the endless seas of suffering, ceaselessly sinking in an eternal ocean of birth and death. So with great gratitude in every breath, we should say the Nembutsu, in honor and praise of Amida, who is the Savior of me and you, and all who entrust their karmic destiny entirely, utterly and completely to Amida, who will ensure that at death we will be born in his land that is pure, forever free from ignorance and delusion, blind passion, pain and confusion. This is the inconceivable working of Amida's primal vow. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. This poem was inspired by the following words of Master Shinran, who explained the Nembutsu as follows. Quote, the Nembutsu, for its practices, is not a practice or a good act. Since it is not performed out of one's own designs, it is not a practice. Since it is not a good done through one's own calculation, it is not a good act. Because it arises wholly from Mother Power and is free from self-power, for the practicer, it is not a practice or a good act. Thus were his words. End quote. In addition, Shinran went on to state, quote, those who truly attain shinjin, as they utter Amida's name, being mindful of the Buddha always, wish to respond to the great benevolence. End quote. Namo Amida Bu. Namo Amida Bu. Verses in honor of Amida and the Nembutsu by Gansen John Welch. We have all wept oceans of tears, suffered endless torments and fears, but still our cravings, desires and delusions persist, and we find it impossible to resist samsara's ceaseless temptations, causing never-ending frustrations. Only Amida can free us from our prison cell and our ego-created karmic hell. Reach out and grasp Amida's helping hand. Only thus will you be reborn in his pure land. Only Amida's inconceivable wisdom and compassion can extinguish our blind ignorance and passion. Forever seeking and never finding cessation of all suffering in our unenlightened samsaric state, we should know without doubt our inevitable fate. If we do not realize our total helplessness and our complete hopelessness without clinging to Amida's sleeve, then we will continue to eternally grieve. So let us resolve now to unconditionally accept Amida's primal vow, and with humility and reverence say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. This poem was inspired by the following passage from TANNISHO by Yuienbo. Quote, saved by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, I shall realize birth in the Pure Land. The moment you entrust yourself thus to the vow, so that the mind set upon saying the Nembutsu arises within you, you are immediately brought to share in the benefit of being grasped by Amida, never to be abandoned. Know that the primal vow of Amida makes no distinction between people young and old, good and evil. Only shinjin is essential, for it is the vow to save the person whose karmic evil is deep and grave, and whose blind passions abound. Thus, for those who entrust themselves to the primal vow, no good acts are required, because no good surpasses the Nembutsu, nor need they despair of the evil they commit, for no evil can obstruct the working of Amida's primal vow. Thus were his words. End quote. Namo Amida Bu. Namo Amida Bu. The Futility of Self-Power Compared to Amida's Other Power, by Gansen John Welch. Life in samsara is like struggling through a sewer. Our karmic burdens never become fewer. Let's stop the pretense that we can cleanse ourselves of these past karmic flaws, which trap us as if we were in the jaws of an implacable beast or foe that will never let us go. Our feeble and futile efforts fall far short of Amida's infinite merits. Our struggles to be virtuous and wise, sooner or later, always fail, as karmic landmines or seeds surprise, when these karmic seeds explode or ripen. As we traverse this life of travail, let us firmly decide to quicken our resolve to listen deeply to Amida Dharma, the only way to be forever free from our evil karma. Surrender our impotent self-power and open our heart-mind to Amida's other power. Think and say the Nimbutsu every day. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passage from TANNISHO. Quote, "This is a statement of one who doubts the primal vow and fails to understand the influence of good and evil karma of past lives. Good thoughts arise in us through the prompting of good karma from the past, and evil comes to be thought and performed through the working of evil karma." The late Master said, knowing that every evil act done, even as slight as a particle on the tip of a strand of rabbit's fur or sheep's wool, has its cause in past karma. End quote. Another source of inspiration for the writing of this poem was Master Saikaku, who wrote the following, quote, "In considering this matter over again now, single practice is still superior. The reason is that we are essentially foolish beings of this defiled world who experience obstacles in everything. Amida, observing this, taught the path of easy practice. One who plays and frolics all day is a person of great distraction and confusion. One who sleeps the whole night is a person of great lethargy. All are consequences of blind passions, difficult to sunder and difficult to control." End quote. This was quoted on page 74 by Reverend Josho Adrian Cirlea in his very insightful and helpful book entitled The Meaning of Faith in Nimbutsu in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Namo Amida Bu.